Most people spend their entire lives running a race they were never told they could opt out of. They work for a piece of paper that someone else printed. They trade their most precious asset for a salary that barely covers the cost of staying alive. This is not a coincidence. It is a design. Look at your hands. Look at the time on your watch. Every second that passes is a portion of your life you will never see again. The wealthy understand this in a way that feels cold to the uninformed. They do not teach their children how to get a job. They teach their children how to own the world that creates the jobs. This is the silent divide. It is not about the cars or the houses. It is about the philosophy of existence. You were taught to be a good employee. You were taught to follow instructions and wait for permission. The children of the elite are taught that permission is a myth. They are taught that money is not a reward for hard work. It is a tool for leverage. If you work for money, you are a slave to the clock. If money works for you, the clock becomes your friend. Think about your father. Think about the lessons he whispered, or the ones he shouted through his fatigue. Most parents teach survival. They teach you to be safe. They teach you to avoid risk, because they are afraid of the fall. Rich parents teach their children that the greatest risk is living a life of quiet desperation. They teach them that failure is not the opposite of success. It is the raw material from which success is built. You see a loss and you feel shame. They see a loss and they see a tuition fee paid to the universe. This script of life was written long before you were born. To change it, you must first realize that the pen is in your hand. The wealthy do not look at a price tag and ask if they can afford it. They look at an asset and ask if it will buy back their freedom. Freedom is the only currency that matters. Everything else is just noise. Your time is being stolen by a system that profits from your ignorance. You are told to save your pennies while the banks print trillions. You are told to be patient while the years strip away your vitality. A rich parent tells their child that patience is for strategy, not for starting. They demand urgency in execution and patience in results. They understand that wealth is a garden. You cannot plant the seed today and expect shade tomorrow, but you must plant the seed today. Most people spend their lives talking about the seeds they might one day buy. They wait for the perfect weather. They wait for the perfect government. They wait for a sign that will never come. The wealthy create their own signs. They understand that the world is plastic. It can be molded by anyone with enough will and enough discipline. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about remembered goals. It is the ability to tell your current self no so that your future self can say yes. Your identity is currently tied to your effort. You think you are valuable because you work hard. The truth is that the world does not care how hard you work. The world only cares about the value you provide. A man who digs a hole with a spoon works harder than a man who uses a tractor. The man with the tractor provides more value. The wealthy teach their children to build tractors. They teach them to think in systems. They teach them to look for the leverage point where 1 hour of thought produces 1,000 hours of results. This sounds unfair to those who have been trained to value sweat. But the universe is not interested in fairness. It is interested in efficiency. You must stop being a worker and start being an architect. Look at your life through the lens of 100 years. What will remain of your efforts? Will you leave a legacy of debt or a legacy of power? Power is not about controlling others. It is about controlling your own destiny. It is about being able to say no to anything that does not align with your soul. Most people cannot say no. They are tethered to a paycheck that dictates where they live, what they eat, and who they spend their time with. That is not living. That is a slow death by 1,000 obligations. Rich parents teach their children that debt is a weapon. In the hands of the ignorant, it is a blade that cuts the throat. In the hands of the wise, it is a lever that moves mountains. They do not fear it. They master it. They do not fear the market. They study it. They do not fear change. They anticipate it. You are living in a house built by other people's ideas. You are eating food grown by other people's labor. You are using technology invented by other people's vision. When will you contribute your own vision? When will you stop being a consumer and start being a creator? The transition is painful. It requires you to kill the version of yourself that seeks comfort. It requires you to embrace the cold reality that no one is coming to save you. There is no hidden inheritance. There is no lottery ticket. There is only your mind and your ability to discipline it. The wealthy treat their minds like a temple of information. They do not fill it with gossip or entertainment. They fill it with the mechanics of reality. They understand how interest works. They understand how human psychology drives the economy. They understand that most people are driven by fear and greed. By mastering their own fear and greed, they become the masters of those who cannot. This is the heavy truth. It is not a secret kept in a vault. It is a secret hidden in plain sight. It is hidden in books you do not read. It is hidden in conversations you do not have. It is hidden in the quiet hours of the morning when you are still asleep. Wealth is a mindset before it is a bank balance. If you took all the money in the world and distributed it equally, it would be back in the same pockets within a few years. This is because the poor spend and the rich invest. The poor see a dollar and see what it can buy today. The rich see a dollar and see a seed that can grow into a forest. You must change your vision. You must look past the horizon of next Friday. You must look into the next decade. What are you building that will outlive your fatigue? What are you creating that will work while you sleep? If you do not find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. These are the words of a mentor who has seen the end of both paths. One path leads to a gold watch and a sense of regret for the things never tried. The other path leads to a mountain peak where the air is thin but the view is infinite. It is not easy. It was never meant to be easy. If it were easy, everyone would be free. But the gates of freedom are narrow. They require you to leave behind your excuses. They require you to leave behind your need for approval. The wealthy do not care if you like them. They care if they are effective. They do not seek to fit in. They seek to stand out. They teach their children that being normal is the ultimate failure. Normal is being broke. Normal is being stressed. Normal is being tired. You must choose to be abnormal. You must choose to be the person who stays when others leave. You must be the person who asks the questions that make others uncomfortable. Why am I doing this? Who told me this was the only way? Is this the best use of my limited time on earth? Your life is a flame. It is burning down every second. You can use that heat to forge a sword, or you can let it flicker out in the wind. The choice is yours, but the clock is indifferent. Start today. Not with a purchase, but with a thought. Change the way you see the coin in your pocket. It is not a piece of metal. It is a soldier. Send it out to fight for you. Send it out to bring back more soldiers. Eventually you will have an army, and that army will guard your peace. That army will buy your time. And once you have your time back, you will finally discover who you were meant to be before the world told you who you had to be. This is the lesson. This is the power. This is the truth that the rich whisper to their heirs while the rest of the world is shouting at the television. Listen to the silence. It is where the real work happens. It is where the future is born. Do not look back with regret. Look forward with a cold and calculated resolve. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. Prove it.